This may be a shorter video today because I got my COVID shot 2 days ago and I'm still recovering from it. So if I appear a bit glistening or sweaty, it's because I have a fever or I had one. Um, yeah, so I got my COVID shot. I got the side effects of the COVID shot, which were a lot nastier than I thought they would be. My new microphone turned out not to be binaural, not to be stereo. In fact, it's worse than the microphone I have now, so I have to return it. I'm sending it back to Amazon. The funny thing is, they're charging me to send it back to them. I don't know. It was a bad purchase on my part. I should have paid more for. The problem was it was so hard to tell what the microphone was capable of on their Amazon ad. It was like, well, it has omnidirectional and what was the other one? Omnidirectional and service. I don't know. They were like boasting and that it had all these features, and I'm like, which one means it has stereo, where you like one side or the other side? I'm like, and then it ended up not being capable. And I tried hooking up one mic to the left side and one mic to the right side. So instead I have two mics. And while that might work in Audacity, it doesn't work in OBS 64. It doesn't work in this program. I tried everything. It doesn't work. So I have to send it back. There are free options for sending it back, but I don't have a UPS store near me. I do have a UPS drop-off location, but I don't have a UPS store. And at this point, I'm pretty poor. I don't have very much money. All the money I do have is stimulus money, obviously. And at the moment, I really cannot afford to spend more than like. The mic I purchased was around $50. It's just stretching it for me. But a Blue Yeti is $130. So if this channel gets to 1,000 subscribers, I will buy a new microphone and a new webcam or a new camera, or you know what I'm talking about. If this channel reaches 1,000 subscribers, I will upgrade my equipment. But until then, you're stuck with me talking to this baby right here. Actually, you know what? I kind of like holding the microphone like this. I hope. I have to admit, usually I don't watch my videos before I post them, because I find it difficult to listen to myself speak and look at myself through the. I guess everyone does. I don't know how some of these ASMR artists do it, I'm like, how do you stand listening to yourself for hours on end? It's just, I can't do it. I can't do that. So, like I said, this may be a shorter video. It may be a longer video. It really depends. Eventually, I'm gonna do some role plays. I did think about a certain role play, which was care for me while I'm sick. So basically, you know how some of these ASMR artists will be like, "I'm caring for you, you're sick," but I'm gonna be the sick one in this role play, and I would put the camera above me, and I'd be like, "You're the one who's taking care of me," I thought that was an interesting roleplay idea. I might still do that one. That one sounds interesting, and it does not take that much setup either. If you have any ideas for role plays that you think I could do with little setup and little equipment and experience, then just comment below. This video is coming out on the 6th. Like I said, the camera I was using before is 120p, but it's very unreliable. It keeps freezing in OBS, so I had to switch to Old Faithful. Yeah, I was knocked out from the COVID vaccine, It knocked me out, It was like, punched me in the face. At one point, I felt like I was run over by a truck. It was that bad. Yeah, at one point, I felt like I was run over by a truck. You know what I'm saying? Let me check something, actually. Yeah. Okay. There we go. I got the right mic. This is a Look at how battered this thing is. Can you believe that? This mic this is the mic I recorded with the first time I made my video. Look at how battered this thing is. Look at that. This thing has seen some. This thing has been through wars. Jesus, I can't believe it still works. It's Old Faithful. This is a good mic. It's a professional quality mic. But I read somewhere that professional microphones are very rarely stereo. Because if you're narrating an audiobook or a podcast, you don't need two channels for your microphone. I've thought about starting my own podcast, but the problem is I don't know exactly what I'd talk about. I do have an idea. I have two brothers, both of whom are as mentally agile as I am. And I believe that if the three of us started a podcast, we would actually get somewhere because all three of us are like really, I mean, we share the same genes. So, and I'm telling you, like my two brothers, they're as mentally agile as I am. Probably not as free thinking as I am. I'm very free thinking when it comes to that kind of thing. But they're smart. They're inquisitive. They can talk. Like boy, howdy. Like they surprise me sometimes on how articulate they can be. But they're my brothers. I'm just a little older than them, so obviously they'd be articulate. Did I tell you that both my parents went to Harvard and that's where they met? My mom's a successful lawyer. My dad's a successful doctor. I'm neither of those. I'm 23, going on 24, and I'm sitting here in my efficiency apartment doing, I mean, well, to be honest, most of my bills are paid for by Social Security because I have schizophrenia, and schizophrenia is a disability that qualifies for SSI disability. I get like $600 a month from SSI disability, and that's just barely enough to cover everything. Thank you, Social Security. In fact, if I had the choice to live through all the stuff I did with schizophrenia and without it, I would choose the schizophrenia every time. Only half because I get paid for the rest of my life. If, like, seriously, I'm guaranteed for the rest of my life to have at least a small amount of universal basic income. But I'm a special case. And I'm telling you, the schizophrenia actually does affect my ability to work. Well, also the autism and the ADHD. Did I tell you I was diagnosed with autism? Asperger's, which makes sense thinking back on my life. I was diagnosed when I was 20, and I looked back on my life and I'm like, yeah, I can tell. I can tell that something was off about me. Like I never really talked to anyone ever. Sometimes I did, but I was never very good at socializing. It's like everyone else was born with like this socialization part of their brain, like a little socialization lobe, and mine had been lobotomized when I was a kid. That's what I felt like. That's what it feels like when you're autistic. It's like everyone else is born with a silver spoon in their mouth, and that silver spoon is the ability to interact with people without feeling awkward. And when you're autistic, you tend to overanalyze your social situations. So when you're talking to someone, your brain spends like 60% of its rational energy going, all right, what do I say here, what do I say here, what's he saying, what's the purpose of this, what am I doing, what should I say next? And so you can only dedicate like 40% of your mental CPU to actually talking. And so that's why I hate conversations. But when I'm talking, like when I'm giving, like in conversation, there's a flow. You give, you take, you give, you take, and I can't do that. I can't give and take and give and take. I can either go all in and go control the conversation to where I'm the one making all the. And here's the number one. I'm autistic, so I just don't understand these things normally. And number two is that I'm too damn insightful. I mean this by saying that when people are talking about something that is low intensity, I always tend to go, well, this happened, or well, I know this fact, and all of a sudden the conversation turns serious, and they're like, oh my god, really? You know, like they could be like quoting Rick and Morty quotes and stuff, and I'd break into a monologue about the existential crisis of how Rick and Morty existential crisis and the I don't know. That wasn't a very good example because Rick and Morty fans are already a little bit over the top when it comes to overanalyzing things. But so living with autism, well, I think that's number one is that I'm autistic, and number two is that I expand other people's brains too much. Like I think that legitimately decreases my ability to interact fairly with other people who aren't as thoughtful as I am. Because I break conversations by being too insightful or too serious. Like we'll be talking about a normal subject that doesn't involve any existentiality, and then all of a sudden I give these other people existential fears. Like, oh my god, they'll look at me and they'll go, oh my god, I didn't think about it that way. Holy crap, I feel horrible now. And I can't continue the conversation because you just totally dropped the bomb about this conversation. Now I don't know what to say to you anymore. So that's why I don't like talking to people, is because they're always like, "Oh my God, what?" It always ends that way. When I do have conversations with people, they just I overpower them. I stretch their brain too much. You probably know this since you've watched my channel, but I tend to stretch people's brains when I talk to them. Brain stretchy. I like stretching my own brain. In fact, stretching my own brain is one of my favorite pastimes. Like when I'm just doing nothing, I stretch my brain. I do exercises. I literally challenge my own core beliefs on a regular basis in order to see what happens. And then I challenge the process of challenging my own beliefs, and then I challenge everything. Okay, when you're in my head, you challenge everything, except when you're psychotic. Psychosis rids the brain of the ability to monitor its own activities. So, and I think the psychosis adds some mind blow to my my speech, but I've been doing this since before I was psychotic. I've been like, you may think I'm sounding a bit self-centered, or not self-centered, more like prideful, but this isn't a point of pride for me. This is a point of, oh my god, I can't do this. This is like, to me, this is a bad thing. This is a downside. It's a, how do I put this? A demerit in my own. I mean, in fact, well, half of me says I don't care what anyone else thinks. I just like to expand my own brain whenever I can. And the other half of me is like, no, you have to dumb down your ideas in order to convey them to the people you want to hang out with. It's like, I've actually never met anyone besides my brothers who can have a full 100% conversation with me. Yeah. And I've never actually had a full conversation with my brothers, but I'm pretty sure they could handle me. Um, uh, but I've never met anyone in my entire life who it wasn't wowed by my at some point during my talking with them. Although I did have some, actually, you know what? Scratch that, scratch that. I did have one friend in high school. Well, I had two friends in high school, and one of the friends in high school, you know what? I totally forgot about her. Yeah, her name was. I'm not gonna give her name out, but she was probably the only person, not my brothers, who I've ever met and been friends with, who wasn't like constantly wowed by. Well, not wow. That's a little bit too presumptuous. More like annoyed, annoyed at how how I take everything too seriously. You can interchange those two things. Like they're wowed, but not in a good way. They're like, oh my god, you're taking this too seriously. But this girl was my friend. There was never anything romantic between us. I don't know, but she could handle me, which I think is pretty cool. Um, I forget about her sometimes because it's been so long since high school, and also since I haven't talked to her in quite some time. And I had a second friend who I just never talked with in any capacity, really. Like literally, he was one of my best friends, and we never really had a conversation about anything. What we would do is we would just wander the campus for like the entire break. Like I'd meet up with him at lunch, and then we would just literally just walk around campus saying nothing, or small talking, and not even small talking. Like there were two different kinds of friends that I can have. The friend where I can have a full on head to head butting conversation with, and they can hold their own, or a friend who is totally okay not having any conversations with me. Those are the two extremes. Those are the two kinds of people I can be friends with. Um, the current person I'm friends with, literally my only friend here in Wisconsin, is of the latter type. He doesn't ask questions. We don't have very much conversation. We do small talk and stuff, but like we don't go deep into any conversations. We just like he doesn't ask questions. I don't ask questions. We watch anime. We really like there are two types of people I can be friends with. Like I said, the one who I can bam headbutt with my ability to do stuff, think and stuff, and they're go right back at me, or someone who's just like, I don't care, I'm not gonna talk, you're not gonna talk, we're gonna exchange a couple words and then do what we came here to do, which is like play video games or watch anime or stuff. And those are the two kinds of people I can be friends with. The kind of person I can't be friends with is the kind of person who goes up to you and says, "Oh, how many siblings do you have? Oh, how long have you been this? Oh my gosh." And when I tell them I write books, they're like, "Oh my gosh, tell me more." And I'm like, "You don't want to know more. If I tried telling you more, it'd either bore you or scare you." You may think I'm being a little bit facetious, or what's the word for it? I don't think prideful is the word for it. I think aggrandizing, maybe. Aggrandizing. Pardon that. That was just my freaking Norton security. Yeah, but those are the two kinds of people I can be friends with. The people who don't ask any questions, and the people who can answer every question I can ask them. And I like both those kinds of people. But anything in the middle, I can't handle. If they ask questions they don't want to know the answer to, or they can't understand the answer to, you're not a friend. You're just an acquaintance, or we can never be real friends if stuff that I says makes you feel distant. Because instead of treating me like a friend, they'll treat me as that guy who says stuff that I don't like because it makes my brain feel weird. Like literally, if you're like I make people's brains feel weird. That's about it. If you watch this channel, you probably know what I'm talking about. I make people's brains feel weird, and it's a practice that I try to do all the time. Make my own brain feel weird. I like expanding my mind. Like I'm open to anything. Like I don't care one way or the other as long as it's close to being the objective truth. Or even the objective truth isn't really a chase after thing. Like, why are we looking for the truth when we should be looking for what makes us the happiest? The only real truth is that you should do whatever makes you happy. Or if you don't want happiness, do whatever you want. Or don't do whatever you want. The only thing I'm against is communism. That's it. The only thing I'm against is communism and domestic violence. Communism, domestic violence, and sexual offenders. No, thank you. Murder? Yeah, that's bad. It's not as bad as some of the other things, but it's bad. On drugs, I believe that all drugs should, at the very least, be decriminalized. Although I do not think some drugs should not be readily available. Some drugs should not be over the counter, like, the bad ones. Um, but I think at the very least, all drugs should be decriminalized. And when you get caught with certain bad drugs, like there are some drugs that have actual medicinal value, like marijuana. It's been proven that marijuana has medicinal value, and so does ketamine. Ketamine, actually, if you look it up, they're using ketamine and mushrooms. They're using mushrooms to solve cluster headaches, and ketamine to solve depression. And the only really bad ones are heroin and methamphetamine. Those are the two ones that if anyone uses them, I will instantly try and get them off of them. Those are the two really bad ones that I believe that they ruin people's lives because they hijack the brain's natural order of things. And it has been shown that if you give a rat meth, they will press a button until they die of starvation. And we don't want that happening. I believe that if someone gets caught using meth, they should well, here's the thing. I believe that if someone distributes a drug like methamphetamine and someone dies because of that drug or gets severely injured, that person should be held accountable. Just like if someone sold you a different kind of product that kills you. For example, if you went to the store and let's say you go to a buffet or you go to a store and you buy some food and you eat that food and you die of food poisoning. What are they going to do? Obviously, there's going to be a huge food recall. That company is going to go, their stock's going to plummet, bad things are going to happen, people are going to look into it. The same thing with drugs. If you're a drug dealer, I think drug dealers shouldn't be punished for dealing drugs. Drug dealers should be punished if their drugs harm the others. So, if you sell meth to someone and they die of an overdose, that's on you, the seller. That'll discourage drug. You know what? I'm not entirely certain. I'm just one guy. These are just my theories on how to handle drugs. But, and you know what? Wow, this video is actually longer than normal. I hope you enjoy my simple setup. If I ever get to 1,000 subs, you know what to do. Upgrades. When I get 1,000 subs, I'll also start a Patreons. Actually, you know what? I'm going to start a Patreon right now. Patreon's in the link below. I'll talk to you guys later. Bye-bye. And my mouse. Bye-bye.